have the cut up onions. We've warmed up the oil and we're going to just fry it a little for them to get slightly brown. While we do that, okay, just a medium heat. We don't want it too hot, so we don't want them to burn. We'll just leave them like that at medium heat, and we'll go and chop up the garlic, which we're going to add in a few minutes. As the onions are sauteing and lightly brown and transparent, that's been about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe a little more. We throw in the garlic, which we chopped roughly, and we stir it a little, and we just cook it until it becomes fragrant, probably about a minute and a half or 2 minutes. In the meantime, we go back to the chopping block and we're going to devein and seed the Scotch bonnet pepper and chop it up in small pieces. As the onion and garlic have sauteed and slightly brown, we'll add the chopped Scotch bonnet pepper. I sliced some ginger, which I forgot to mention before. You can slide it, or you can just, if you like, you can grate it. After a couple of minutes, after we get the aromas of it, we'll throw in some fresh mint leaves as well as coriander. And we'll continue patiently. The smells of these spices become quite pleasing. Right, a couple of minutes have passed. We can smell the aroma of the ginger and the pepper. We're going to throw in the mint leaves and the coriander. Okay. We are always cooking at medium heat. We just give it a quick stir for about a minute, and then we'll put our curry paste, which we actually have to cook. The curry paste, I've already done it. You just mix all the dry ingredients that are on the list, okay, according to the size, and then you start adding a little bit of water at a time until you get this pasty, sandy, mixture. Not too watery, not too dry. And in a couple of minutes, as I said, we'll put it here, and we'll cook it a little before we put our protein. In this case, we'll be using pork, so we'll get back into it in just a minute. Okay, and we're back. As I said, we just lightly stir fry it. We are going throwing in the 4 cardamoms and 3 cloves. As I said, just for more fragrance. That is the nice thing about curry, which is actually a type of cooking where you can mix a whole bunch of spices until you get the flavor that you enjoy and like. Alright, so we add the curry paste. And as it starts to cook, we're going to keep stirring. And we're going to stir, okay, until it's slightly sticky to the bottom of the pan. As it starts sticking to the bottom of the pan, as you can see, okay, we're going to throw in our protein so it'll sealed with the flavors. We don't want to wait too long, otherwise the curry will overcook and will get bitter. Don't worry, use a wooden spoon to scrape the bottom. Okay. Just make sure that your heat is medium low. If it's too high, just reduce it a little bit. Will you find yourself comfortable with it? I use this specific type of pot, but you can use what generally called a karahi, which is the typical type of cooking utensil they used in the East as well as the West Indies. This is going to look a little dry, but don't worry, you keep stirring. You see? Keep controlling the heat. And this eventually is going to start perspiring a little and throw some water, which is going to help cook in itself. So we're going to let it be for about 5 minutes. Every once in a while we come and we'll give it a good stir, just making sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom. Okay. So it's been 2 minutes. We keep stirring so it doesn't get burned. As you see, it's going to stick a little bit at the bottom, but this is going to sweat and it's going to help unstick that. Best thing to do that, we put a nice tight lid on top of it. Make sure the heat is at simmering, and we leave it for about 2.5 minutes or so to throw a little bit of liquid. Once that is done, I was going to put the tomato paste, which I showed you before, but instead I found some tomatoes that I had left over. So it's about a half a cup, just to add a little bit of water to the whole process. And then we just let it simmer for a little bit. It'll probably be anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. Then we add a cup of water and we cook it at slow heat for most likely about an hour, or until the protein that you're using is soft. Okay, so let's wait 2 or 3 minutes and we'll add the tomatoes. Alright, so 2 minutes have passed, and as you can see, some of the liquid came from in this case, the protein, the pork itself. So all that we were worried about getting stuck at the bottom, it gotten softened, and it given some consistency to our curry. Okay. So now we'll add the chopped tomatoes, or if you like, you can add a bit of the tomato paste. But in reality, I recommend using fresh tomatoes, or even just a couple of pieces, because the tomato paste is very sweet and you have to cook it. Otherwise, if you don't cook it right, it gets sour. If you cook it too much, it gets bitter. So just a couple of potatoes, just as I said, to produce a bit of moisture would be sufficient. Again, we're going to cover it and we let it be for about 10 minutes, checking on it every once in a while. So it's been 10 minutes. I've checked on it a couple of times and give it a stir just to make sure. Okay. Now we're going to put the salt. It's not going to be a lot of salt, basically just 1 teaspoon on 2 pounds of protein. You can check that just before you serve it to adjust it to your personal liking. Okay, so we put the water. This is boiled water. It's not hot, it's warm, but it's going to reduce the temperature of the 1 cup water. You can put 1 cup of beef stock, chicken stock, it's whatever you please. I just use plain water. Okay, and we're going to wait for it to start boiling. Once it starts boiling, we'll put it at simmer at very low heat, cover it, okay, and we'll leave it on for 20 minutes. During those 20 minutes, I'm going to show you just a quick way of making the best rice there is. Never fails, always comes out consistent. You can count the grains, that good old basmati Indian rice that we all enjoy. Alright then, so while the curry is cooking, which you all remember, we put it at simmer for about 20-25 minutes and wait for it to thicken out. We're going to make the quickest rice you can ever think of. It's not only quick, but it's always consistent, always quite deserving. Put about a tablespoon and a half of a high heating oil. I specifically use avocado oil because it doesn't smoke so much. Olive oil tends to get hot a little quicker. We turn the stove on, get it warmed up. Once it's warm, we'll throw in the rice and we'll basically just dry and fry the rice just a little bit. Then add the water, salt, whatever condiment you like. If you like onion powder, garlic powder, or none at all, we do that. We stir it a bit more. We add the water, the ratio that I use. In this case, I'm cooking 2 cups of water. 2 cups of rice. And I'm putting basically 3.5 cups of water to it. Close it once it boils and wait 20 minutes. It'll be ready. So we'll continue in just a minute. The oil is warm, not hot, not smoking. We throw in the rice and we stir. Just to try to coat as much of the rice with the oil as possible. Some people wash the rice. That's up to you. If you do, this may change the outcome a little. This way, I can guarantee you it'll always come out the same. It'll always be good. You can count the grains, unless you like sticky rice. And it goes quite well with curries or types of food they like that way. Okay. I want to wait for it till it starts frying a little, and then I'll show you not to make this video too long. Okay, as soon as you start hearing the rice slightly sizzling, you turn it and you're going to notice that some of the grains are turning lighter white. Keep stirring. The idea is to make as many grains a little white as possible, okay, without frying the dry rice. So this will take about, I would say, a minute or so at most. And once you're going to notice, keep stirring. I don't know if you can see in the video, but some of the grains are turning white. Keep stirring, and then you just reduce the heat and add the water. So it's been about a minute and a half. I put about a teaspoon of, in my case, onion powder and salt to taste. If you smell it toasty, okay, that means that you're getting a little too much, so turn the heat off, stir it to mix the salt and the condiments, and you put the water, as I said, according to the directions. In this case, 2 cups of rice, 3.5 cups of water. Be careful, this is going to splutter, okay? Just throw the water. Be careful, this is going to splatter, so be very, very careful. Okay. Turn the heat back on high, stir it a little, and as soon as it starts boiling, cover it, bring it down to the lowest setting you can in simmer, and wait for 20 minutes. When 20 minutes pass, we'll come and check it, turn it off, take it off the heat, and we'll look at the next step for perfect rice. Perfect. It's been exactly 20 minutes. Time to take it off. Turn the heat off and cover. This is the important steps. The rice is going to feel a bit sticky. Don't worry with that. Just give it a good stir. You want to get rid of some of this moisture. Just stir it well. and oops, and cover it lightly, take it off the hot spot. We'll wait about 5 to 7 minutes, give it another stir, do the same thing for another 5 minutes, and then I'll show you how the rice comes out together with the curry, which is just about ready. Alright, in about 7 minutes, give it another stirring, as I said, to allow most of the water to evaporate. That'll dry the rice and it'll become less sticky. Same thing. Now if we cover away from the heat.